I wake up just in the middle of the night with my heart pounding, with my chest on fire, pain in my arm, and just feel like I'm having a heart attack. This is getting crazy. I can't eat anything. I ate more chicken and more salads in the last 2 years than I've ever ate in my entire life and felt just horrible. I just start crying for no reason. I have no idea. I have not taken or even thought about taking an anxiety pill since probably the third day I've been on this. I think probably about a month into this, I'm like, you know what? I probably don't need the heartburn medicine since I'm not eating anything other than natural, and let's just cut this out and see what happens. Everybody's saying, you look great. What's going on? What are you doing? And I tell them, they're like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, well, we'll see. I was a little skeptical and nervous. I just found out I had this aneurysm and I shouldn't eat any red meat. I shouldn't have any salt.
So welcome, Greg. I guess you're going to share a success story with us. It's a pleasure to have you here. I guess we'll just start out with maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what your background is.
So background from small town, Lucas, Ohio, just close to Mansfield. But I graduated 2000, married my high school sweetheart. We have 2 girls. Just both of them graduated now. One's 19, one's 18. So wife and I are adapting to that now and learning how to figure it all out again. But it's been fun and interesting. I went to college for a little bit, tried to play college football, found out real quick I wasn't that good. And then got into manufacturing, been in the manufacturing industry since 2002. Still doing it now, operations manager at current local establishment. But no, I enjoy cooking. I love cooking, and not just the same thing over and over, but I would always find new recipes from all across the globe. And I love all types. And so when this kind of hit me, probably 2020, it really, it stunk. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't like it. And I couldn't figure out what was going on.
So I guess maybe some clarity there. When you said when this hit you, what do you mean by what actually hit you?
I couldn't really explain it, but I would wake up just in the middle of the night with my heart pounding, with my chest on fire, pain in my arm, and just feel like I'm having a heart attack. And I would get up about 2, 3 a.m. and I would go outside, sit on my front porch and just try to focus and breathe and calm down. And because my family history is no heart attacks, none. I was like, man, there's no way you're having a heart attack. At that time, I was probably at my heaviest weight. I'm 6'2". I was 297 at my heaviest. I didn't look it. When I told somebody that, they're like, you got to be kidding me. But
you could be on the offensive line with that.
Yeah, that's what. Close, right? When I was in college and I was a quarterback in high school at $185, and I tried to long snap in college, and they're like, you're too small. You're good, but you're too small. But anyway, yeah, I couldn't figure it out, and I would talk myself out of waking my wife up, taking me to ER. I'm like, you're not having a heart attack. There's no way. When we go out to eat, we'll have a burger and a fry comes with it. I would always check to see if I could substitute broccoli for the fries. Almost always for me, because I always try to eat healthy, and there was always a meat, there was always a vegetable, there was always a well-rounded meal. And me learning how to cook earlier, we didn't have just box meals every night or order takeout or get McDonald's. We would cook steaks, everything, vegetables, have a salad, just well-rounded meals, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what I've been taught, and that's how I was raised. But yeah, after all this times of just feeling like crap and never knowing, like I quit eating pizza because of the red sauce, quit eating spaghetti because of the red sauce. I thought it was that. Finally, I broke down and went to the doctor, and she thought it was anxiety and a little bit of heartburn. So I had not really a scope, but they did the imaging of my chest and everything and didn't see anything and no issues, but put me on heartburn and put me on anxiety medicine. Yeah.
Okay. So this is back in 2020, right? Anxiety, heartburn. Yeah. And that's not uncommon, people with that. And it sometimes looks like heart disease.
Right.
You have to sort that out. Okay.
So that went on for a couple of years. That's been going on for 4 years, actually. But I got to a point where this year I made it, I got to do something. So this year was when we did a bunch of tests, blood work tests, to find out if I was allergic to anything. Let's see, found out allergic to milk, allergic to egg whites, allergic to crab, allergic to gluten. I think that's it. Then they sent me to the allergist to do the back test, and allergic to oak, hickory, all the types of wood that I smoke barbecue and I smoke my meat with in barbecue. And they said that could have had an effect on me at that time. I'm like, this is getting crazy. Like, I can't eat anything. And I was dropping a little bit of weight, but I didn't care at that point. I still felt like crap. And I ate more chicken and more salads in the last 2 years than I've ever ate in my entire life and felt just horrible. And I never knew. I could never tell. I tried to track what I was eating, tried to track what was causing it, but I couldn't figure it out. So yeah, I struggled with it for, like I said, the last 4 years, but the last 2 years has been extremely rough. Anxiety, I would take 3 pills a day. It was allowed 3, and I would take my 3 on most days there towards the end until I started this.
Was the anxiety over the chest and
Like,
stomach symptoms you were having?
Overwhelm me right through here, and then I would get heated, and it would come up through my ears and through my head. And I remember, it was just terrible. And I would sit down and I'd just start crying for no reason. I have no idea. I'm like, I would wait till my wife or my kids were away from me and go out on my back porch, and I would just tear up for no reason. And eventually I let my wife in and told her about it, and she would give me a big hug and tell me it's okay. And I'm like, it's not okay. I don't know how to fix it.
And the doctors were antacids, anti-acid meds, that type of stuff, anxiety meds, not really getting the job done. Correct.
Yeah.
And did they advise you on a diet at that time? Did the physician say?
No, she asked me what I do. If I drank, I said, I drink. I have maybe 1 beer a night or something like that, but nothing terrible. And she said, no, that's fine with me. And you look good, and all your blood work's good. And I'm on blood pressure medicine, but it was decent at the time. It was, even on blood pressure medicine, I was always 138 over 88/90, and I've been on it since 2014. So no, she didn't really tell me what to do as far as nutrition.
What was your, if you don't mind, because you said you got up to 290 or something like that. What was your weight at this time, 2020, when you were developing these GI symptoms?
It's been around there, but for the last 2 years, I've really focused on it, and I'm saying probably around 270, 280 is where I would stay for the last 2 years. Once I hit the 297, I'm like, all right, it's time. You're about
close to that 300-pound mark. Yeah, I remember back in the day when I broke 300, I remember my wife at the time was like, I can't do 300. She's like, that's just a number. And I got to 305, and I was only there for a week or two, but it was just funny. So 300's at that mark that you can't cross.
300, that's a lot. Even I don't carry it well.
I was 6'5", and I carried it okay, but it was just too much. It was definitely too much. Okay, so you're trying the chicken and broccoli diet and salad diet, and it's still not helping you. And so how do you end up? I assume there's a meat-based carnivorous ending to this story, but how do you get over there?
It's funny because my chiropractor, so he knew I was going through all this gut things, and he does a little bit of this. He dives into that, and I believe, I don't know for sure, but he's been carnivore for the last, I can't even say, but I know it's been more than 2 years that he's went carnivore, and he broke me in on it in, I think, around May or April, maybe somewhere around there, earlier
of this year. This year, that's 2024.
He was bringing it up. Okay. I think you need to go all red meat, and I'm like, there ain't no way. What stuck in my head was my father. He did have a heart attack at 48. And I know I said nobody in my family history has it. I can explain further, but I'd rather not for right now. But my father had a heart attack at 48, and he was flatlined for 6.5 minutes when I was in 8th grade. And I can remember he came back, and we still have him today. But I can remember him coming home and mom saying, no more red meat, and it's all chicken. And it's been in my head forever. Even in my 20s, we only ate steak maybe once every 3 months, and we would eat ground beef maybe once a week. And I always had it stuck in my head that, no, it's not good for you. But so my doctor, chiropractor, he dropped it in on me around May or so. Then I went for further testing in August, and I had a stress test done, and I had they took pictures. They did all of my chest and everything, and my heart. they told me I had a aneurysm, pretty much, a dilated aortic root. It's it. It's
Okay.
it. What's it? 4.1 is where it's at, and the ascending root is at 4.1. Of course, first thing I do is Google, and I didn't have an appointment for a cardiologist for a month and a half. I don't think I went to see the cardiologist till September 4th, and I believe no, it was in end of July that I did the pictures and the stress test. Stress test I passed fine, but pictures showed aneurysm pretty much. So I had all that time to freak out and look stuff up, and it's the one that's going to silently kill you, or it's going to kill you right then and there. And so I was a hot mess for a good while.
Probably didn't help your anxiety.
No, I bought a Garmin watch, and that stupid thing would tell me my stress levels, and I could feel it, and then it would start vibrating at me. I sent that thing back. I couldn't deal with it. So I ended up going to my chiropractor again on August 17th. I was telling him about the aortic root and the ascending aorta, and how, no red meat, no salt, low fat, and all this good stuff. And he's, "You ever heard of Jordan Peterson?" I'm like, "No, I'm not a social media person by any means." So I think you should look him up. You should do some research. Do your own. I'll let you determine what you need to do. So on the way home, I actually pulled up one of the videos and I let it play on my phone while driving home. And I'm like, all right. I listened to that, and then I listened to the Rogan. And then I think I found, it was either you or Dr. Channing. I can't remember. I think it was you first. And I'm like, all right. So there's people that's been doing this longer than 5 years. There's been plenty of people. I think I found the Bear, Owsley Stanley for Grateful Dead, found his blog and how he had been doing it for 55 plus years or something. I'm like, all right, so there's plenty of people. I'm doing this today. I'm going to try it. So that night, I had a big porterhouse steak at a restaurant we went out to eat, and I haven't stopped since.
Okay. And so you started, obviously you're still here. Your heart hasn't exploded yet or anything like that. So what has been the result thus far since you've been doing it for a few months?
I can tell you, I have not taken or even thought about taking an anxiety pill since probably the third day I've been on this. In the beginning, so I would eat a steak, and I don't know if it happened to you or if it happens to anybody else, but whenever I would eat a steak, one of my best friends, he does the same thing when he eats a steak. His ears get red, he feels like he gets hot, and you feel like your blood pressure is raising. And I always felt the same thing, and it scared the crap out of me. And so that was another reason why I would stay clear of it. But yeah.
So was that still happening? Did that still happen to you?
Probably the first 2 weeks. And then the more I ate it, then it was gone. But from day 3 on, never any anxiety, not at all. I figured out some things that even meat-based, that I can and can't eat. Like I would get a shoulder pain or just feel weird, and I just cut it out. So I think 2 weeks in, I tried eggs, and I would buy the good eggs, and I didn't have a reaction. I was fine. And I'm like, thank goodness I can eat eggs again, because I missed my eggs terribly. I'm a breakfast guy. Yeah, but chicken doesn't hold over well for me. Not at all. I found that out.
Yeah, chicken's like a vegetable.
Yeah. Chicken, bone in, skin on chicken thighs, I think, is one of my favorite pieces of meat, and it tastes great, and it has everything there. I can't stand a chicken breast. It just doesn't do anything for me. But I would notice that if I ate 6 chicken thighs the next morning, I was starving compared to eating a steak and a half or so, and then it would stay with me until tomorrow night, to the next night.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned the anxiety, because there was a recent study actually just published. It was a case series on anxiety and depression on people on they called it an animal-based ketogenic diet, which is basically code for carnivore. And they saw very rapidly anxiety resolve with complete resolution. I think it was within 7 weeks, and the depression resolved within 12 weeks or something like that. So we know it does seem to be effective, at least for certain people. So you're feeling better. Your anxiety's better. What's going on with your heartburn and your chest pain and all the other stuff? What's going on with that?
I haven't taken heartburn medicine. I used to take it every day. I think probably about a month into this, I'm like, you know what? I probably don't need the heartburn medicine, since I'm not eating anything other than natural, and let's just cut this out and see what happens. So it's been 5 weeks, 6 weeks since I've had the heartburn pill. I don't have any. I haven't had any. And I haven't dropped the blood pressure medicine yet. I'm still I actually took it for the first time last night, since probably the second week I've been on this. And I'm like, you know what? I've never been a worrier in my entire life, but ever since all of this, I can't help it. I just worry and it drives me insane.
Right.
So I just don't check it. I checked it last night and it was 115 over 72. And even on the medicine,
That's pretty good. Yeah.
even on the medicine, I've never been that low ever.
Yeah, you said like 138, so it's dropped the systolic by 20 points.
I've always
so
been 138 over low 90s, always.
Yeah, so hopefully you can get up. Maybe you can get off the meds too. That would be cool to get off the hypertension meds. That would be. Have you? So the chiropractor. Have you mentioned back to your chiropractor buddy that you're doing this?
I saw him. I think I'm 10 weeks tomorrow. I think I saw him at the 6-week mark out of Sam's Club. Actually, he had a cart full of meat, and it was him and his wife. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He's, "Holy cow!" He's, "What are you doing?" I said, You made me switch, because I actually called him probably 2 weeks after and talked to his wife on the phone. And I said, look, I tell him thank you. Tell him thank you very much for at least getting me to listen, getting me to put some effort in, and then making my own decision. He didn't push. He just said, go in this direction and see what you think. And I'm so thankful for him and I appreciate him. But I saw him and I guess I've changed my look, my appearance tremendously. And everybody's, man, you look great. What's going on? What are you doing? And I tell them, they're like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, we'll see.
Okay. So blood pressure's med, heartburn's gone, anxiety's gone. Let me ask you, what are you eating? What is your meal
usually
like?
One big steak. I usually cut my own, but I just did get a half a beef the other day. So I'll be diving in on that. But usually one steak. If it fills me up, then I'll have another half or so. But lately, I only eat probably once a day. And if I do, then if I want more, then at lunchtime around 11:30, I'll go get burger patties at a diner locally. But it's usually just burger and steak or a beef that I'll roast in the oven, or I'll smoke like a chuck roast. I've smoked chuck roast and then shred it up and have that. But it's mostly been steak and burgers. I smash burgers. I'll take a pound of beef and make 6 smash burgers and call it good. And that's what.
And because you mentioned early, I think you said you were like a foodie guy. You like to cook. You like all these different. How's that going? Because you're obviously restricted at this point.
I'm all right. Like, I haven't had the cravings. Like, I've never been a sweet guy. I would much rather go have another cheeseburger than I would go grab a piece of cake or grab a cookie. I even make cheesecake. I make cheesecake for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we even make it for a diner, but I don't always partake in it. But I just, I don't know. It's been tough. I miss pizza because we make a homemade pizza, and I'll do it in the wood-fired oven, and I do it old school style, and it's our favorite pizza that we can do and that we can buy or that we make. But it's our favorite from anything we buy.
How's your wife responded to this? Because is she like worried that you're going to about this, or is she seeing the obvious benefits?
I think at first she was worried, probably just because I was too. I was a little skeptical and nervous. I just found out I had this aneurysm and I shouldn't eat any red meat. I shouldn't have any salt. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And she noticed and she realized how bad it was getting. And then I think she's very thankful that I found it now. She'll probably sometimes get tired of me saying, maybe you should eat more fat and eat more meat than that other stuff. But I think, she's fine with it now. And she's trying to do it. She can't stand fat. She has always cut an inch away from any piece of fat on a steak and just shoved it my way, and I would just finish it up. But she's slowly working on it.
Yeah, women are particularly, they have this sort of aversion to meat fat. It's just like, I don't know if it's been just cultural brainwashing or if it's a true aversion, I don't know, or that they maybe kind of been thought that's going to make them fat and therefore they're afraid to eat it for some reason. So what's going on with are you losing weight? You're only eating one meal a day? Are you starting to drop some body weight now? What's going on with that?
I don't really know for sure where. I think I was in the 268 when I started this August 17th. This morning on a scale, 228.
Oh, wow. That's 40 pounds, man. That's a lot. No wonder your chiropractor could tell you.
I'm not starving myself. I'm eating when I'm hungry. I make sure I eat plenty, and I've read up on the amount of fat you're supposed to eat, or at least trying to understand it. I've read more about macronutrients than in this 10 weeks than I have in my entire life. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. It's eye-opening in many ways because you've been told your whole life, hey, red meat's bad, don't eat it. It's going to cause you to be fat and heart disease and diabetes and all these things. And all of a sudden that's the only thing you eat. And all of a sudden I just get incredibly healthy, which doesn't add up. You're like, why doesn't this add up? And then when you look in the science on that, you start to see the science is really poor around this. It's all conflated epidemiologic studies with gazillions of confounders, and they define red meat as things like lasagna and pizza. And come on, man, that's not any way to do decent science. What about negatives? Have you had any negatives? Some people will say there's like GI issues or any kind of negatives.
I had bad days. Trust me. You would probably, if you would look through your Instagram, there was probably a message from me, but as Coney Island Diner, because that's still my name or whatever. But probably freaking out, just wondering. I would worry myself almost to death about it, just probably with the aneurysm and wondering, is it going to explode? Am I doing this worse? Is this really what I should be doing? I think I sent one to Channing too, but that was my only biggest problem. I'd already had GI or bathroom issues prior. I took fiber, I took Metamucil, I took everything, and it never worked for me. I would eat the sauerkraut. I would eat everything that they would tell me that's supposed to eat to make everything that's what I've struggled with, fissures. And I did not know what those were. And holy cow, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And it's terrible. And they're gone. Like, I haven't had one. Like the first 2 weeks, I probably had one. But ever since, I was listening to probably you or somebody about if it's soft or if it's running too much, if it's hard, not enough fat. And I just try to judge it by that. And it's been great. I haven't had a single episode with a fissure since the second week. So 8 weeks. And I was having them every week, dealing with them. It was terrible.
Yeah, that's another good benefit to have that improve. What about you mentioned your anxiety is better. Is there any other impacts on your mental health, cognition, sort of energy, that type of stuff?
Yeah, my energy's it's way better. I feel ashamed for the last 2 years of the type of dad and type of father I've been, I'll be honest, and just not open, not available to my wife or kids because of how bad the anxiety and just the mental thoughts of I'm not good enough right now. And it was terrible. But yeah, like I said, I started on Saturday. Thursday morning, turned the truck on, driving into work and just, I don't know, a rush of just greatness, overwhelming feeling just came over me. And I just started bawling. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to feel great again. And truly, I feel like I'm in my 20s sometimes, and it's amazing. And that's what I call it, the Lord's diet to me, because I just feel overwhelmed by it. And my relationship to God is better now, for sure. So
that's good. That's good for you. So you mentioned, and if we go and look at the Bible, I think meat's mentioned hundreds of times, and that's
just a little bit.
There's always, it was always like the sacrifice, the Cain and Abel story. The guy that gave the vegetables was the murderer and stuff. But you mentioned you work in manufacturing. You've been doing that for a while. Co-workers, they have to have seen
they're asking
50-pound weight loss. What's going on with those guys?
Some of them say, you can't do it. You can't, it's not possible. You got to have vegetables. I said, well, I don't know. Right now, you see the proof. I haven't had a vegetable in 10 weeks. Evidently, you might not need it. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you not to eat a vegetable. I'm just doing my thing. And whatever makes me feel good, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I never liked vegetables. I have not had any in about 8 years. Outside of maybe sometimes I'll get a little piece of seasoning, like an herb will be on some meat. I'll have. It doesn't bother me that much. But I never liked them, so I don't miss them at all. And so I'm still here without vegetables 8 years in, and I know other people have done a lot longer than I have. And so it's interesting. So
some of them have asked questions and want to do it, and try and get a couple of them to do it just because I know their aches and pains. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I bet you didn't really realize how much what you ate impacted how your joints and stuff felt. Probably.
No, I don't have too many pains. I've got a knee from a little bit of injury and a shoulder from a little bit of injury, but I've figured out that, I don't have it much unless I golf, and then I have a little bit of shoulder injury, but for the most part, or shoulder pain. But I noticed, like I told my wife last night, I used to just grunt or make this, I don't know, this loud noise because I would have this sharp stomach pain. And I don't know how often it would be, but and she'd just look at me like, "What? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But I have not had it, not yet, not since. It's crazy. So that little jolt of pain in my stomach is gone, and yeah, so it's been great for me.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the kind of weird things. Like I always point out the fact that I just never hiccup anymore. I used to get the hiccups every once, like once every month, you get the hiccups and then it would go away. And I just haven't had that in 8 years. And it's like, why the heck don't you have hiccups anymore on this? So it's just diaphragmatic irritation is what the theory is behind it. But yeah, it's interesting. You get these weird sort of things. You said you got more energy, you're feeling better.
Stress levels, like I feel like I don't have any. Like it doesn't affect me anymore.
You feel like you're better able to deal with stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I've always been, when stress is at its worst, like when work goes to crap, and that's when I've always felt like that's when I kick into high gear and I just handle it. And I'm not good at downtime. I like to prefer the high stress moments. But here in the last 4 years, I was just, oh, geez, don't let this happen. I can't deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. And
when you're dealing with your own internal stress and you're sick, it's hard to deal with this external. So you just want to go hide and just give me a cool, dark room I can chill out in, maybe, or something like that. So
now I just run with it. And it does. I don't know. I've been in stressful moments here in the last 10 weeks, and I just feel confident and I just can think clearly. I was stuttering. I was stammering, trying to find words of something that I just read or looked at the prior day, or talk about this tool or this part. And I was like, what the heck is wrong with me? And now it just, everything seems to become quicker and I'm remembering a lot better and just not stuttering.
You mentioned you had this aneurysm. And you're told not to eat red meat or salt. And I don't know, are you using salt now? Is that something you are using salt? And yet your blood pressure has dropped 20 points despite consuming added salt, which is in contrast. And probably one of the bigger risk factors for an aneurysm would be hypertension. And so you basically normalize that. 115 over 68 is certainly well within the low risk range for that situation, I believe. Do you, as far you said you don't get cravings or anything like that. You're eating what, once a day, sometimes twice a day?
Today I had burgers for lunch. I had 2 half-pound burgers. And tonight I'm going to have a porterhouse steak for lunch or for dinner before going to the football game. But yeah, that's all I eat, and that's about it. So
what football game is tonight on Friday?
It's our high school, local high school.
Okay, a Friday night football. Yeah, Friday high school game. Okay, yeah.
Still have to go to all that. Can't miss that.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And so you said your wife is cautiously on board with you. What about you said you got a couple I think you said a couple daughters. Are they like, no thanks, or what are their
thoughts? My youngest, she tells me every other week that she's going to go on it because she has some stomach issues that she's dealing with or that she's always dealt with. And my oldest, she usually has some issues, but it's mostly with dairy, I think. But she's not interested at all. But my youngest, she tells me all the time, I'm starting Monday. I'm starting Carnivore Monday, Dad. I'm like, all right. And then she'll come home with, I don't know, Chipotle or something. I'm like, that's partly Carnivore Dad, partly.
There's, well, at least they're eating meat. That's, at least they don't fall prey to the vegan mental illness, which I kind of
They're meat eaters. My daughter just sent a picture of all the deer sticks that she just picked up from a deer she shot. So
I see. Okay. And so you mentioned that you got a half or something like that, half a beef or something, or a quarter or something. Where do you normally get your beef from? Are you worried about grain finish, grass finish? Does it matter to you? What's been your preference?
I've done both. I've tried both. I didn't see an effect from me, whether having grass fed or grain finished. This one I know is fed with the highest superior hay, and then just finished the last month with the corn feed, but I know it's local. I know where the land is, and I know everything about it. So I trust it, and we've always trusted our cows around here and our farmers around here also. But I haven't seen an issue with the difference. I have seen an issue if I go I usually don't ever buy Kroger or Sam's, but sometimes at Sam's, like I'll buy the whole rib roast for prime rib. Do not feel the best when I eat that one. I prefer from the local cow or from a local butcher shop. I do feel better on that. But actually, just the burgers is what makes me feel 100% the best. Just ground burgers.
Gotcha. Yeah, it tastes damn good too. So let me ask you, so with the aneurysm, what has been your like instructions other than don't eat red meat, don't take salt? But is there some, do you have an annual follow-up imaging, or what do they do with, what are they going to, how are they going to manage this? Because there's a certain threshold size. And I know like with a triple A's, like abdominal aortic aneurysms, there's a certain size threshold where they're risky for, I'm not familiar enough about the aortic root on what the size criteria are, stuff like that. What is it like the long-term management of this?
When I went to see the cardiologist, 3.5 weeks after I started carnivore, and I was feeling great, I'm like, I am not telling this guy what I'm eating. There's no way. I know what he'll say, so I'm just going to sit there and let him. He pretty much said, I'm not worried about you. I think you're fine, even because I think they ended up coming back saying it was 3.9 centimeters instead of 4.1. And I don't know where you started. You're a bigger frame person. I have no idea. Most people start at 1.7, but you're a bigger guy. So I can't tell you. But what we are going to do is you're going to come back in another year. We're going to do the imaging. We're going to do all that stuff again. And if it didn't grow, then I'll see you in 2 years. Yeah, but if it grew, then we'll get a game plan.
Gotcha.
In a year,
okay, so
it doesn't grow.
Yeah, that hopefully we'll know sometime next summer. So I've been doing this for a couple months, two and a half, 3 months now. I think it's at 11 weeks or something like that. How, obviously you can't predict the future, but do you have any plan to say at January 1, I'm going to add something in? Do you project anything, or I'm just going to take it day by day?
There was a plan, and there still will be a plan. It's just whether or not I partake. November 9th, I think I've counted out, is the 90 days. I am going to make homemade pizza with my dough and my sauce, and everything's going to be as local and as best quality ingredients I can find and get. I'm not sure yet if I will take a bite, take a slice or not, but everybody's been looking forward to it because I haven't made them in a while. I wouldn't make them because of the gluten allergy and everything else, and so I quit making them. But I'm making my own dough, and I'll start 3 days prior and make my own sauce, and I don't know. We'll see. But November 9th is the day of whether I'm going to jump off the wagon or not. But I know I'm going right back on if I do. I've already said this is too good to be true. Well, it's not. It's too good for me. I can't.
Yeah, sometimes it's interesting just to see how your body reacts to something like that. And some people, like like I said, I've not been religious about this stuff. I pretty much do it every day, but every once in a while, like on my kid's birthday, I might have a piece of birthday cake to celebrate with him if we do that. And I remember one year I did that. It was my son's, I don't know, like 8th birthday or something like that. And I had a piece of cake. And I got violently sick. I literally, it was like whatever. I ended up puking it all out. I remember I literally had to run out the backyard and puke in the yard because I was like, I couldn't even. And then I think 6 months later, I did something similar with my daughter's birthday, and it was fine and no issues. So it's weird, but I rarely ever do that. It's because I don't really care anymore. I don't really care about. I don't really crave the stuff anymore like I used to. I used to be a guy when I was walking around at 290 for about 20. I literally walked around at 290 for 20 years. Big, strong guy, heavy lifting, training, running, sprints, jumping. I could still dunk basketballs at 285. So I was a pretty big, powerful dude. And I love sweet stuff, man. I would eat 3 desserts. I'd go to a restaurant. I don't know, red velvet, cheesecake, the little chocolate fudge thing. Just give me all 3 of them because I can't make mine. And I'd live that way for years. Now I don't care about that stuff. It's weird. I still would like it. I think it still tastes good, but I just don't like, I'm okay. I can take it or leave it now. So that's really good. That's a superpower in many ways. Have you seen, I guess the chiropractor, I don't know if you're going to I assume maybe spinal adjustments or something like that.
Usually neck, always neck.
Yeah. You may find that the neck doesn't bug you anymore. So the chiropractor's kind of lost himself some business by telling you what to eat.
That's what I told him at Sam's Club. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't need you right now. I've been feeling good and I don't need any adjustments. I'm sorry. You may have lost me for a while, but I'll come back and visit.
Yeah. And again, obviously you kind of joking around, say it's customer cured is customer lost, but there's a lot of truth to that. But, and it's interesting. A lot of chiropractors have been more apt to pick this up because they don't deal with drugs. They don't prescribe or prescribe medications, or primarily prescribes what standard allopathic physicians do. And so they're more likely to be interested in nutrition and diet. And I've seen a lot of acceptance among chiropractors, although there are more and more typical allopathic doctors, orthopedic surgeons, and even cardiologists and other things that are adopting this sort of carnivore style diet for helping their patients out. So I'm just wondering, as far as, you mentioned you said you don't do dairy products, correct? Is that something you just decided I'm not going to start with that, or is it something you've always had issues with?
Just my homemade Alfredo sauce is probably one of my favorite things that I've ever made. Once I found out I was allergic to milk, like when I found out these allergies in March, I think it was March, I found out I quit no beer, I quit bread, I quit dairy, I quit it all because it's worth it to me to figure out what's going on and to feel better. And for that,
how
good.
I was going to ask you about the beer thing, because you said you were just a beer a night or something like that, just to chill out, drink a beer or whatever, end of the day type of thing. How has that gone? Have you found like your desire to do that is less now because of Carnivore? A lot of people
Yeah,
that.
definitely. I'll admit the first week going through, is this worth it or not? I wouldn't have the beer, but maybe pour a small, tiny glass of tequila or something, and just to calm my nerves more than anything. Yeah, it's been way better. Like before I couldn't wait to go home and have my cold beer for the day and just relax and enjoy the family and company. But yeah, now, no, I don't have the craving anymore. It is what it is. And yeah, I wouldn't mind a cold beer on a Saturday with a piece of pizza. That's the only time it really hits me or makes me think about it. But I really don't think about it too much.
How about, I know this is early on, but like you said, back in the day when you were playing high school football and quarterback and then trying to do college and stuff. And so you obviously had some athletic background. Do you feel like maybe some of that's coming back? Like you feel like I want to go out and do some stuff and exercise or play some sports or anything like that?
So we still do an alumni basketball tournament every year.
Okay.
So last year I was heavier, or this year we usually play in March, end of March or April. And I ended up playing. I wasn't going to play because I felt terrible. Like the first time I went to practice at an open gym, I thought, you're going to die out here. Like my lungs were on fire. My chest was on fire. And it was before I even found out all of my allergies. So then found out the allergies, and then I did it for 2 weeks. None of the gluten, none of the dairy, none of the eggs, all that good stuff. And I actually played and I felt decent. Like, I'm like, all right, I can do this. But then everything rushed right back in maybe a month, 2 months after. I was avoiding all of it, and I was still having reactions to whatever. I have no idea what. But now, yeah, I run on the treadmill better. I row. I've got a goal to maybe beat your time someday. But I've got the concept too that I try to crank out on it. But yeah, I was scared to push myself. I'll admit I'm getting better at just full on sprinting and trying to just row as hard as I can and see what I can get. I'm getting there. And I've never been a weightlifting guy. I hated it. It's there. I'm ready. I've been looking at stuff and trying to get started. I've just been naturally somewhat built and just gifted through that, but I'd like to get into it definitely more and just be stronger and better.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I said, I've always liked, I started lifting when I was 14 and I'm almost 58 now. So I've been doing it a long time, and actually 13 when I started. Wow. So I'll be 45 years coming up in a few months. And yeah, but good luck on the concept too, man. That thing will get you, man. It's not forgiving, man. You go and and I like it. So you just go as hard as you can to get that one more tenth of a second down. And you're like, damn it, couldn't do it.
Yeah. My buddy that I play sports with, he's one of my best friends, and he come over and he started doing a carnivore diet 3 weeks after me. And we just went and golfing Sunday, and I haven't seen him in probably 3 weeks. And he come over, I'm like, holy cow, you look great. And he's thinning down and he's feeling good. And poor guy had 2 hips replaced in his early 30s and no idea why. Wow. No idea. They called him Patient X. But yeah, he feels like running and doing great, and his cholesterol was down, and I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. But he came over and rode because he's like, what is this rowing thing? I'm like, trust me, it's a workout. And he went after it for a little bit, and yeah, he found out how tough it is.
Yeah, well, I was going to say golf. There's a number. I've seen a number of professional golfers now that have adopted carnivore. I can't remember their names because I don't follow golf much, but I know there's been about 3 or 4 guys on the PGA and stuff like that doing that. So
I would assume it would help them tremendously with the inflammation from that constant twisting and movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think it's been helpful. It helps. I mean, a lot of athletes. I got a lot of athletes now that are adopting this with good results. So it's interesting to see. Now, you said because you don't really do social media stuff, so I assume you don't have like social media and all that stuff.
I have Instagram for our diner, and I don't.
Oh, that's right. You said Coney. What did you call it?
Coney Island Diner. I don't want to try to plug it, but yeah, I had to get it for that. That was the only reason that I have it. I tried to watch what I follow, watch what I do, just because of the business side of it. But then I couldn't help it. I'm like, I'm going to start following this stuff because it's interesting and it's helping me.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Awesome. What about anything else we didn't address? Anything else you want to comment, or anything else you find that might be helpful to share?
Man, I don't know. Everybody's commented to me about I look great. You lost a ton of weight and all that. And honestly, if anyone is struggling with the anxiety or depression or anything like that, just not feeling good, not feeling yourself, you got to give this a try to get rid of it. It just works. And yeah, I don't think people that know me that may see this and see my softer side on this, maybe, holy cow, he was really struggling. But because unfortunately, I put the face on at work and outside this house. And what sucks is my wife and kids had to see the bad side of it.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing better. And you're absolutely right. It's, hey, why not try and you do it for a couple months and it'll either work or it won't. And if it does, it could change your life in a very good way. Anyway, I'll tell you what, Greg, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story. And hopefully I'm sure this will impact somebody else listening down the road. So
I appreciate you.
Man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.